All right, welcome in. This time my microphone is working and plugged in and correctly set up, and I didn't forget, and it wasn't my fault, I swear. Anyway, what are we doing today? Today we're going to go into a deep dive on how to disconnect from all of these AI overlords that are trying to basically put you on a subscription model, make you waste money, and for some things, yeah, sure, you may need a large model to do things, but for like 90% of the things we need to learn, know, and research, we can do it on our local computer. Yeah, you can put an AI on your computer. That's kind of the whole point. The whole idea of an AI system is it's a digital file, and that digital file can be held on your computer. Well, the only difference is that depending on the size of the file and the intelligence of the AI model that you're using, which depends on a couple of things, hardware related, you may get a certain level of a usage. But we'll talk further into, do you really need a large model? Do you really need to dedicate a whole data center just for some questions, if not most? So let's take a look here how AI actually works. It all starts with a query. So that query gets sent to your router. That router then gets passed through your cables of intercontinental measures of optics and radio towers and all kinds of signals that transferred that one question, which was how to center a div. Yeah, these are the kind of things and more and way more that you can essentially do on your own computer, and you don't have to waste the resources that this question is taking as it's going on its general way over this cable, over these towers, and up here, and all the different networking systems that exist all over the globe to some particular data center. Now, that was like not even a majority of the processing. That's pretty cheap compared to a general sense. The power that it's required to transfer that piece of data, not so bad. But this is where it gets crazy. So, what are AI models? Well, if I can really, really simplify the idea, it's an encyclopedia converted into math, into vector math, into a directional point of reference that a computer can read. And it's just an encyclopedia, it's a piece of info. A dictionary doesn't have consciousness. A book does not have the ability to reason. It only functions based on what it contains. So it's literally the same thing. The way we're going to be approaching this is we're going to take an AI model, which is in itself a encyclopedia-like system, and we're going to direct it with Python code. The ability to us basically interacting with this model will help us give it tools and give it the ability to use its knowledge. And given that they are trained at a certain date point, somewhere around 2023 was the last ideal training location, they have all the information of the past up to 2023, and will give it tools for future information, like going on the internet and researching for us. So this is a representation of this sort of vector point of information, how it calculates the answer of what is a dog and what is a cat by comparing vectors to see where certain features of the image are pointing to. Ears, whiskers, size, color, patterns, all kinds of stuff like that. It's pretty intense to look at. But in the end, this is really where the neural network starts to work. What we saw was kind of the brief overview of what a single vector looks like. And then we entered this kind of neural networking system here, where it expands even further into more neurons that can logically move around and basically parse. thousands, if not millions, of these vectors simultaneously. And then we pick the most effective vector that is closest to our answer and take that into our account. Now, this is like computer science level machine learning. Do you need to know this stuff to work with an AI? Nah, not really. All you need to know is how to use a computer. The rest is the magic behind the information. And then it returns all that work, all that energy cost, all of that process to basically give you that, this little bit of text, little bit of teeny tiny text, right? That's it. That's it, guys. So that's how AI works. Now, for our case, we're going to make all of this happen on our local machine. We don't really want or care to go as far as actually like doing that. We don't want to send that data out. That's number one. Data out bad. Data home good. That's the goal. So, like there's a case for like, yeah, before you ask an AI a dumb question, right? Where was it? Before you ask AI another dumb question, a coding question, just question in general, like dumb questions exist. Just imagine how much energy it took for that AI to process whatever you're asking for. But if you set it up on your local system, ask away whatever you want. There's no holding back. And that's kind of the idea that we're going for here. So let me clean up my screen a bit, get a little bit better view over here. And let's start it off. What do we need first? Oh my God, this is going to be trippy actually. Hold on. Need to adjust some desktop settings. The first thing we need is this guy. It's a llama. It's an Ollama. What is Ollama? Ollama is actually a very interesting but also forgotten project by Facebook to kind of open source the whole AI ecology, ecosystem. That's the word I'm looking for. Ecosystem. So OpenAI is kind of like one side of it all, where they create their own little proprietary AI models we can't really take a look at because it's gonna cost a pretty penny to lose the proprietary intellectual property. But there's so many models currently out there. Even PewDiePie, if you know PewDiePie, even PewDiePie is making his own model. Let's see if he's got that set up yet, actually. PewDiePie. Felix has constructed a home AI lab. 10 GPU systems. That's what it takes, actually. 10, 8 modded RTX, including, interesting, and 2 RTX 4080 cards. So he's got about 256 gigabytes of GPU memory. And this would be required if you wanted to train an AI. But to use an AI, you need a fraction of that value. So really, the usage of AI is much cheaper than the training of these models. And the first thing we need is Ollama. Where to get? You get at ollama.com. You first go and grab the Windows or Linux Explore models. Download. You go to download. You pick the system of choice. You download the file. You install it like anything else. Basically install next, etc. And then when you're done installing, you will see a tiny icon in the taskbar, task manager of your system. It looks like this. It's a little llama. It's a llama. Llama. And that llama acts as your server. Now, just like any server, like a web server where you host websites, host pages that other people can visit, this is a machine learning model server. I may not be using the correct terminologies, but doesn't mean I don't know how to use it. That's kind of the key. A server that hosts machine learning models that have been taught already or trained in the past and now can be used locally. These are the ones I currently have on my local. Kind of. Wait, hold on. Oh, these are the ones without the icons. DeepSeek Coder, DeepSeek, Gandalf, what are you doing, cat? Stop making chaos. Chaos, relax. Hero Remu. My favorite, Mr. Nemo. Great coding model. Great coding model. In fact, there's a certain parallel between using coding model, not just for coding, but also for giving it the tools necessary from, let's say, Python, and having it know how to apply those tools. I find that Mr. Nemo, a code-centered or programming-centered model, is much better at hosting and being a co-pilot, if you will, of an application than a simple Mistral chatbot. That's just a chatbot. It's basically an encyclopedia with like lack of character. Mr. Onimo may not have as much. Okay, Mistral. I don't know. Some people be saying it Mistral. I'm just gonna say Mistral. I don't care. I'm, I'm American. I'm not French. Okay, okay. This is a French model, by the way, or some Euro thingy mabobber. But it's just information you don't need to know in order to use these things. Like, I don't understand why everyone's so pompous about, oh, you have to know all the terminology and the vocabulary to be able to talk and do programming and to do actual. No, dude, like, get your high horse, take it to the backyard, and just let it go. Let it free. Don't do anything else, so just let it free. You don't need that high horse. You don't need to be a fully endowed programmer, scientist, da 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 da, to be able to do this stuff. You just need critical thinking. You need a knowledge of programming, for sure. And basically a good math to programming logical inference. Being able to understand how math and programming can work coincide together and effectively give you the best output. Because in the end, you can be a programmer and write thousands of lines of code, just like any student in math can solve a problem with 20, 30 lines of processing. But if you don't know the tricks, you won't be able to do that same problem in 3 or 4 lines. It's literally the same thing. So, if you were to like dedicate time to anything between programming and math, I think more effectively, you should do math. Math will help you think critically and understand logically how to do things more effective. Anyway, that's my spew. Thank you for joining. Just kidding. We're continuing. I'm ending that little segment there because I can kind of go on math all the time. And I think a lot of programmers are dumb when it comes to mathematical inference and critical thinking, that they don't understand that they don't need to know these vocabulary words created by humans of what a model, server, thing, front end, back end, this, that, GUI, UX, to the blah, 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 all of that crap. You don't need to know that stuff. At least not the terminology. You're no lesser for not knowing exactly the terminology or messing up and switching them because you have dyslexia, like me. Anyway, the idea here is that we have these models, they are local. But this little icon, this little window comes from our little icon we saw earlier. When you right click it, once you basically installed it, right? Let's say you install your little Ollama. You right click the little icon and then you open Ollama. You can also set up some stuff, like let it start up on computer startup. And keep in mind, this doesn't take much space on the actual system. This isn't an AI running on your computer. This is simply the interface between you and that agent until I actually ask a question like, oh, say, or anything really. Say hello to stream, Mistral. And keep in mind, oh, ¿cómo está hoy? In English, please. Hello, Stream Mister. How are you today? Okay. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. You're retarded. So let's take a look at a couple of things here. What happens in the performance when I am using this model? That's really important to keep an eye out. So notice my dedicated GPU memory just climbed up high. I have 8 gigs total, and as soon as I ask that question, well, now we're using a pretty penny of it. That's because the model is now loaded into RAM. And if I don't use it over time, it's going to basically free itself after a little bit. What's up, Rise? How you doing? So right now the model is loaded. I can start asking it questions. Tell me about the fall of Rome and how it can potentially manifest in the current Western civilization. Let's go deep. And there it is. It's kind of pulling information from its own internal data set. Again, these AI trained models are essentially encyclopedias. They have a slight level of reasoning, slight level of kind of comparing data points and working on it. Hey, good morning. Get your coffee. I got mine happening. Yeah, it is. It's 7:29, huh? Ah, coffee, coffee, coffee. And this will pull information from just its own memory, right? Now, the key to having an AI model on your computer is actually just to have a graphics card. If you're a gamer, like Rise, I'm talking to you, buddy, you can install an AI on your computer. I have a mediocre 3070 with 8 gigabytes of RAM, virtual dedicated GPU RAM. And then about 32 gigs, I think, of regular RAM. And then there's some shared aspects to the GPU memory where it's kind of working with my uh my internal RAM to kind of use that. Yes, sir. So all you would have to do really is just to install Ollama, this guy, Ollama.com. If you wanted to get an AI model and start playing with it, I recommend it. If you wanted to ask it, or like basically like, hey, what's the best tags for this game? Or what's the best catchy, what is the word? Uh, clickbait title for this video? That's how you do it. You do it through an AI. That's for the record. You get the best tags particularly. But we're gonna dive deep because in this one, right now, we're not leaving the AI. We're not even leaving the computer. This in itself is still inside of my computer and it's not looking up information. We're gonna dive deeper into the programming aspects of it, probably by midpoint to half to the end of the video. For now, this is all you really need to just have a local AI, have different chats, and basically, instead of searching for things that may exist already in the world, like encyclopedia-based dictionary history, will it be perfect? Let me see. Let's check it out, huh? Fall of Rome. Years. Pretty close. I mean, I guess that's a question for relevance of perspective. So this AI, although another AI, says that. So we're seeing 476 AD. So there it is. It is pulling information from it. But the start, I guess, was 27. Some say 31. So that's probably a sense of relativity there. Some may say that it didn't start at a certain level or a certain year. But it's pretty accurate to the basis of like asking it factual, logical questions that it can go into its little encyclopedia AI brain and then figure out, oh yeah, this is the information he wants to know about Rome. I wonder what it said. Let's see. Ultimately, the lessons from the fall of Rome should serve as cautionary tale for modern societies. It is important to learn from history in order to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past, work towards creating more sustainable, equitable, resilient societies that can withstand the challenges of the future. Hmm. The Roman Empire was heavily dependent on agricultural production. The changes in the climate, such as droughts or flooding, could have devastating effects. That's interesting. Similarly, current Western civilization is highly interconnected and reliant on globalized economy. Man, I mean, this is pretty smart for like literally just having a 7 GB model on my device. All right. So that's a decent overview of just how to install it and just start using it. I didn't have to register. I didn't have to sign up, give my credit card anywhere. And at this point, I didn't even have to let anyone know I have this AI on my computer. All I need is a GPU, a graphics card, gamers talking to you, and you can install this and run it directly and not have to spend every single if you use AI. If you don't, maybe it's time to start kind of moving in that direction and using it as a good complementary tool to research, to creating content, using it as a starting point to create things. Don't use it as a friend. Please don't be those people that actually go online and talk to an AI agent like it's a person. It's not the same. It's not a person. Please, please go get some friends. Anyway, that's the start. Next step is how can I manage this a bit further? What's the next level after I've already installed it? I've already started playing with it. It's cool. And maybe I want it to do more. Maybe I want it to do research that's active right now. Like, what's the current stock? Oh, there it is. Look at that. I stopped using my AI model and it freed itself from memory. Now we're back down to what you call it. I don't know. What's that? Like 1.1 gigabytes. And this is probably just like my current Windows environment, the plethora of Chrome tabs that are open in another browser, my Opera browser also being open, my code. It's just basically just my standard 1 GB computer system running right now. Well, next step is this is kind of like, hey, I'm a user, I don't do programming, and I'd say at that point, this is kind of where you stop. However, if you decide to go further, how can I communicate with Ollama in Python? You ask it that question. What script can I use? Did you know that you can let the machine build the machine? This is literally what PewDiePie did. All he did was start small. I'd say this is probably not the best case. Yeah, I guess. Salesforce. No, not quite. This script loads the Ollama model and asks it a simple question. So, while this is a good start, there's a little bit of a, well, is this the best start? This is loading something called a transformer that'll basically take a model from a pre-trained location. So auto tokenizer from pre-trained is actually going to download a model from, I think maybe, what was that? Hugging Face? Weirdest name ever. Yeah, Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is kind of like a GitHub for AI models. You can look around, search for all kinds of different models, Vibe Voice Real Time, DeepSeek, Flux for image editing. They all kind of have their own ways to get set up. I would say this is next level, and this is not the place to be if you're just starting, but it is the endpoint for those that go far with this process. This is kind of like the ultimate direction we're all going when we get to that advanced level. But that's kind of the problem. We don't want to do this yet. We're starting. We don't know what a transformer is. We don't want to import extra stuff, maybe some stuff. So let me rephrase that question simply because I already have a script on it. Like, this is kind of like what you would do as a general learner trying to go deeper into just AI. How about if I have a Ollama, knowing that it's a server, right? The question format is really where the knowledge of the vocabulary will help you communicate with that AI model. So we have the Ollama server currently running. How can I use, and then we have to have a little bit of knowledge of kind of like the networking aspect of a GET request, sending packets, sending some sort of server interactions. How can I use a request to communicate with that Ollama server model. This is really what we want, actually, right here. We only want this request, and this is kind of like, it's already given. So there's a big difference between something like from transformers or import transformer or import auto tokenizer. These are packages that you would have to actually install on your system. So it kind of lets a slightly bigger barrier into actually like going into um downloading pip, using pip package management. We're not going there yet. We're simply going to be like, all right, I can go this direction and I can make it a little bit extra difficult for myself, but also this is already included in the Python library. I don't have to download it and install it. All I need to do is really just copy and paste this at this point. Maybe do a little bit of, I don't think this is going to work, not the localhost thingy here, which there is a specific server value that might not be the particular one. We can try it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to format this a little bit differently. So again, this is kind of running on like old data as well. I think the last time these AI models that were trained was like 2020, I don't know, three, was it? Maybe somewhere around there. So let me open up my Dream project folder. What's this? Oh yeah, I was making that little thingy, HTML stuff. So I'm gonna make a new folder in my VS Code. You can do this on a regular like window browser. You don't have to go crazy about it. I'm gonna call this my starting AI project, just whatever. And in here, I'm just gonna do main.py. Let's just try it out. This is the whole idea, right? Can AI replace programmers? Oh, wait a minute. What? Hold on. Select Python. Oh, maybe because I did a new interpreter? Browse my system. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Where my Python? So the one thing, okay, yeah, okay, all right, let's kind of see what the heck's going on. I kind of have my VS Visual Studio Code set up in a way that I can actually run scripts directly from it. There's a plugin in the extensions called Pylance. Pylance lets you code, color, all the Python syntax formats. And then there's a way for you to basically attach your Python interpreter through. So whenever I go to, let's say, find my Python folder, 311, recommended, if you're doing Python and you're going to be doing AI, I don't recommend 312. I don't recommend anything below 311. It just seems like most packages, whether it's AudioCraft, whether it's Whisper, whether it's all of these different ways to basically use AI from audio to image editing to textual. It's just the tools are 311. All of them are most compatible with 311. So that's my particular experience so far. But I'm gonna select my Python exe. I'm gonna select the interpreter so now it knows how to run it, and then I'll press the plus button. Now I highly doubt this is gonna work for the record. Yep, there's some issues. So let's go and take a look at further what's happening here. And we'll really get an idea of how to adjust this a little bit because that's kind of the problem with AI. You can't expect it to actually be a programmer for you. You have to step in, but it's a good learning experience because in order to learn best, there's a sense of teaching. As an educator, I genuinely learn more about what's happening by teaching. And in the very beginning, I can say that was extremely true. When I first started teaching at Valencia College and University of Central Florida, just mathematics, algebra, I knew how to do math. I can go in front of a student and be like, oh, this is how you do it, done. But did I know how to explain it in five different ways for different students that have different ways of looking at stuff? The creative student, the logical student, the mixture in between, the visual student, the auditory student, the kinesthetic student. Did I know so much about that one particular subject that I could mold my explanation directly to that person's preferable use? No, not until I taught for at least 5, maybe 8 years. So being the teacher, And learning as you go and learning as you teach, in essence, gives you a much more rounded experience and a more, well, the just a better, smoother process. The opposite of being a teacher and actually doing this is working in a cubicle and just being fed tasks. And then, oh, you just have to program this and you're done. Okay, you program this. Now what? You don't even know how it works because this is like a smaller piece of a bigger picture. And what happens? At that point, you're just kind of regurgitating and you don't even know how the whole project works. You just know how your little project works. And you become this sort of like sheep programmer, this monkey wrench, this person that only knows how to program this one little thing, and that's it because that's all they've done all their life. So, this gives you that ability to basically be a teacher of yourself, but also learning with an AI. So, we're going to go through this code and see why it didn't work. But first, being in Python, I want to show you this little extension. Pylance, Python language support. And I'll be very careful lately with downloading certain extensions. These should be good. Some of them might not be. I don't know. I don't know about these, but I would assume Microsoft certified ones are fine. But I'm hearing a lot about viruses propagating through GitHubs and through NPM and through package managers and extensions on VS Code. I'm just hearing a lot of different virus endpoints happening. So be very careful. Vet those uh, extensions, look them up online, see what the reviews are, and just make sure that it's not something harmful. But I will vet these: Python debugger, Python language support, and then the actual Pylance, which helps us do the little running button, just pressing the button and going. Very much recommended for anyone going into Python. Python environment experience, I'm not sure about that. I don't even know if I use that very often, but it's there, I suppose. Anyway, back to the meat and potatoes. So here's our code. Something didn't work. Now, there is a case for actually going in and being like, okay, I not only must program, but I must read and understand errors. Well, normally, you're looking at potentially the closest top line for where the error started, and it started on line 13. Then it propagated to something called request.api. Well, we did import requests, but we didn't modify or code requests. So whatever may have happened as an error happened inside of that import. Logically, we're thinking functions, we're thinking math, we're thinking inputs and outputs. There was an input on line 13 that just broke something in the package. So really the focus is here. We don't have to look at the rest of those lines. Sometimes they can give us some tips and hints, but generally speaking, the further down you go, these I don't even have a line 700. I'm at 18. I don't need to look this far, right? So normally the very first line after our call, and we can kind of look up a little bit, max retry error, something about a port, right? So basically we tried to connect to a port, didn't exist. It tried to do it over and over and eventually just stopped. Max tries, done. But the issue is that this is not a nice IP address. I was already pointing out this might be an issue. Now, if I remember off the top of my head, which I probably don't, I think it was 11434 for the actual port. It's always the same on Ollama. Let me see what it is. Don't think I'll have it in settings. Maybe I can ask it. What's the default Ollama port for requests? Let's see if it knows this much. Nope, did not give me squat. But there is a way where I can go to logs. I can go to these logs in the right click button and I can check the current setup and what it looks like. Okay, there we go. So there's my logs. I'll probably do server update, upgrade server log. And in here, It's a bunch of text, but source, da da da. Because I mean, generally it should be pretty standard, but sometimes there could be adjusted settings. There it is. Yes, I got it. One. This is where it's running. So the Ollama host is running on 0000, which is more like an open port for your local network. So if you host your server, your family and friends can all connect to you and all use your AI on your computer. So you can have your own home AI without even having to leave and do Grok and do GPT and all that crap, and then give away your personal data, and also waste the hardware resources of thousands of gigawatts to basically just ask a simple query. So that's the first issue. We changed it, updated our particular setup, save it, and now we run again. Q key line 97 something. I'm gonna go up until I find the most recent line. Still line 13. URL quest on that. Oh, okay, that's not that line 13. Yeah, okay, so request that post. So this is the situation where I think it was ask. Let's kind of play around with these. It's not ask. It's an API. I have a setup, so I'm probably gonna start using that as a reference point because it's basically once you have it set up, you kind of set it and forget it. So it's API slash chat. Now we need a couple of other things. Just from research, I'm saving you the time. We're just doing it together at this point. So this is the Ollama server, but we need to essentially pick a model that we're going to be using. I'm going to pick my favorite, Mr. Onimo latest. And all I'm doing is just setting a string of information to these particular variables and then using those in my request to call. I want to see if this will work. It probably won't still because the actual system's pretty blah. The default code that was given to me was a little bit lackluster. But also, did I even use? No, I didn't even use Finding Nemo. I didn't even use Mr. Nemo. Let's see. Let's do that again. Do you know what the default? I'm using a different model now. I'm using the Mr. Nemo coding model. No, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. Okay, well, the API part's not bad, but you're wrong. It's not the default. All right, what about if I go to can you verify the code? And I'm gonna say Mr. Nemo. Let's see if it did better. Nope. Okay, it's kind of like actually using functions now. Nice. All right. Fair. Cool. It's organizing itself because now it is an actual code. Interesting. It's using an array. So this is a find request. This is useful right here. This is how we actually communicate with the AI. But technically, this is incorrect. But I'm curious to try if this is going to work. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to make a main 2 because I'm curious if one AI model is better than the other. And I'm going to run that instead. Oh, I already know it's not going to be 8000s, 11434. Error communicating 404, client not found. Right, it's not this, it's API slash chat. That's the next update, and I think it might work. Oh no, bad request. Bad request? What do you mean? What's the settings I put in here? So let's see, run agent, system prompt, I send a request. This is the full set of code, right? This is my actual currently fully functional AI model that I use that actually accesses the internet. So find me the current weather in Europe. It's a little bit loggy. I've got a ton of logs happening. I've also got a lot of printing. I've shown this before. It goes to DuckDuckGo. It grabs information from a Chrome engine browser. So I'm essentially applying a Chrome browser. You see how quickly it opens and closes it? That's all it's doing. It's opening a page, copying the HTML, and using it as a reference point to do research forward. Here's another one. But it should be going into the websites at this point. It's just doing search internet. Normally, it will go into a website itself to do further research. Although, is this the very final one? Is this the one I have so many copies sometimes, I forget which one's which. Because I like to mix my code together. Now it should be, yep, there we go. So now it's compiling a final. I've checked the weather data, major cities, and there it is. I think it means Fahrenheit sometimes. This is a little too hot for current times. The case is it's still under development. Sometimes it does actually pull random information from the last time. It didn't actually check the weather API. It thinks it did, which is a weird part. Sometimes when you're playing with this, it's a lot more on the limiting and making sure that your AI is actually abiding by the rules and not hallucinating that it's doing something when it actually isn't. It apparently thinks it went to a weather API or a website library, and it doesn't actually have that ability. So it thinks it's doing that. Anyway, we're not going into the deep set of this information just yet. We're just setting up a basic script to communicate with our Ollama. And I think this is actually a pretty decent setup so far. The only thing I need to change is I need a prompt. I have a prompt I've already built up. What's up, Google? Google Gem me up. Give me up? Google Gem app. How's it going, guys? Welcome in. What do you mean you're class 6, so can you please do script mode? Ugh, I probably gotta go in a little bit to continue this later. I got a colleague asking for help applying for some business jobs using AI, so I'm his AI techie at some point. Anyway, I'm not sure what you mean by class 6, so potentially not sure, and I am doing fine. Valnervas, welcome. Valnervera? Valenvera, welcome, welcome. So we've got the local host that we're accessing. Ask question here, input the data stream, the data setup is not correct. We need to essentially set it up based on the API. And here's how that API works. We have a payload that we have to send over to the server. The payload is going to be a key value pair. So model is going to be a model name, but we need to import this model name. We don't have to import it. I mean, we're going to expand on the details later. What if we just have a question? We have a default model. I'm going to say, well, do I now have it here? Yeah, okay. So model, let's call it model equals to Minstrel Nemo latest. I'm going to use that variable to hold the model. I don't need to over complicate the system here. Then we need a messages, a smaller array of messages we have to organize, which we'll do here. And technically, we're not really streaming the information. There's a variable for, or there's a key value for stream. This would actually live return the conversation, the response from the AI. But we don't need that. We just need it to think and return a full set of info. Now, We set up our messages. Messages will include a similar, actually not going to be this. It'll be a JSON format, and we have to have a external, yeah, we have to have an external list, and internally, we're going to have smaller key value pairs with one of them being role system, and then we're going to tell the content or the prompt for the system, you are an AI model assisting the user with information, information retrieval. Or response. Let's do response because retrieval again. So you're talking to the AI at this point. You have to give it clear instructions because sometimes like, oh, retrieval, where am I retrieving it from? And then it starts thinking it's going on the internet, but it's not actually connected to the internet. So it thinks it's retrieving stuff, but it's like doing this from a perspective of its own internal misunderstanding of what it's doing. So now it ends up like kind of hallucinating. So your particular prompts will be pretty important to make sure that the AI doesn't do anything stupid and actually makes sense. So that's the initial role of our AI. Also, I've never heard of class six. What does that mean? Like you're sixth grade or something? That's funny. Role, user, content, F. Now, here is where we can kind of talk to that specific AI, the message itself that we're giving. There's a lot of ways we can format this, all based on intention, but for now, we're essentially just going to put the question here. So I'm going to leave that off. We're giving it the question. But sometimes we may need to include previous search information. If we're dealing with memory and an AI essentially means that you are giving and holding a set of data sets in a RAG-based system and consistently feeding it back to the AI. So it knows its current progress with each new query. You may have a 20, 10, 5 loop increment iteration where the first loop is to do general research, the second loop is to go into websites and grab information directly, and then like the fifth loop would be to summarize everything and spit out a final answer. This is all based on process. Since we're starting slow, all we want to do is basically create a very simple, straightforward application on how to access this AI model online wise. So far, we've got our message set. And then we have to do our requests. And this is where this happens, the Ollama URL, the JSON data, or the messages. JSON, let's make sure it's set up right, payload. JSON data. Where's the data for the original input question? Not quite. That's not how that works. This was the incorrect way the AI decided to format the URL. So I'm going to delete that. What we want is the messages. Messages are set in here. Payload. Payload? Let me see. Yeah, it's the payload. Because messages is going to be nested inside of the payload, and then payload will be the final format that we're sending. We shouldn't have to need a timeout, but it does have a loop, so maybe give it a timeout. All right, so let's check it out now. So now, there it is. Our AI is kicking up. It's on the end. Okay. No valid response. Okay, so we are technically getting a response, but because our initial AI script doesn't understand how to process things back from the AI, now it's us parsing that information. It thinks it's not getting an AI response, so it's kind of throwing a exception. But that's the problem. This was originally from What's up, Pat? I'm doing fine. Cool, bro. Cool. I don't mind. I teach, so if people don't want to learn, then they don't have to be here. But over time, people do join in, and that's cool. Anyway, I do have students later, so not lonely at all. Thanks for asking. No valid response from server is actually coming up, and it is using my AI. We can see right now that we do have a particular usage of my GPU on the AI system. But it's not parsing it correctly. It's thinking there's some issue, and right now the if is searching for output when technically that's not the case. That's not what we should be looking for on the response from Ollama. What we should be looking for is if our response that we just sent or the response underscore JSON is going to be not status code. We got to look inside in the status code. But this is for a response JSON post response. Now we don't need a JSON. We need the status code. Response.status code is not equal to 200. From there, that's going to tell us the answer to the question is something or other. Now we got to extract where that question is coming from. Question is up there. Response is the output, but that's not going to be the way the output is formatted. The response should be 222. We decrypted it through JSON. There's a JSON response. Now we go inside of something called messages because the server itself is giving us information and it formats it in a similar way. These are some API researches that you have to do to make sure you're communicating correctly with these data passing processes. If you're not sure, I mean, I'm basically giving you the way it's working, right? So now it's not the Ollama is not getting any information from the server, but it wasn't formatted correctly. For where's this at? F string message. I messed up on something. Where did I mess up on? Doot, 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 doot. Huh? Unmatched. Where is it unmatched? Response content. Could be also a issue. Just gonna put this at the end. Outside of this F. There we go. It was just a formatting issue between the string. Sometimes it happens. Okay, still no response yet. Or something's still happening, but the AI is working. So let's see. What's next that's missing? Runtime. Oh, wait, hold on. No, actually, actually, the problem is this. We probably should be doing equals to runtime error or runtime 200. Can cotton ta 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 ta. Okay, so we're not returning a string. We should be attaching to a string. So we got to take this whole thing, convert it to a string. There we go. And finally, we have a direct response from our AI based on not only three questions that are kind of built in here. We can basically now adjust this. Ooh, retimed out. Oh, we have a time limit. Okay, we don't need a time limit. We don't need a timeout. I guess we overloaded the server based on its API. Capital of France is Paris. That's the first capital there. Who wrote How to Kill a Mockingbird? Harper Lee. And because we took out the timeout, can you explain how photosynthesis works? Now this one's going to be a longer one, right? Because now it's actually thinking hardcore. Let's see how long it takes for it to explain photosynthesis. Come on. Oh, baby. Look at that response. Absolutely. I'd be happy to explain photosynthesis, a process which plants, algae, and bacteria convert light energy. All right. So step one's good. Step two, what if I just don't want it to be doing the same questions over and over? Well, this is further away from like typical AI or specific programming. This is basically saying, maybe I have a bunch of questions. I wouldn't say this is like the best way to use our AI right here with this sort of loop thing happening. So what I would do is basically just boom, close this out. Now we do some simple basic programming. We're going to create a loop and we're going to have an input. We're going to say enter question or talk to the AI. We're going to say this is the user and this user in is going to be passed directly to the ask question function we were just using earlier. And then if we can have a escape, because you don't want to do this forever, you don't want to do control C just to get out. If user in equals to slash by, we're going to return or exit, break. We're going to break. We're going to break it down. In fact, I should probably put this here. Like there's two ways you can do this, interestingly enough. You can do it this way, where you do break before you ask the question or you say exit, or you can do it after. So right here, the AI is never going to say bye back. Obviously, who cares? But if you're one of those sentimental people that want the AI to say bye, then you can put it after and let the AI actually respond to your request to go by. Because you're sentimental and you need someone like Mr. Pate Toi to feel unlonely. And now we just have a direct connection to this AI. So it's basically what we have in Python, but what we did and how we communicated with it here. Now it's not as nice. There's some formatting that our AI is actually working with here. Our AI isn't really giving us a nice format like this. It's this Ollama app that's written that takes the information from the AI and formats it nicely. That's another level of programming we won't go into, but at least now we have a direct connection to our AI. And I can say, hey, what's up? What's up? Oh, hey, hold on. What? Huh? Am I missing something? Oh, wait, I didn't print any answer. Hold on. I didn't print any. Oh, I didn't even print an answer from the AI. Hold on. I gotta save the answer from the AI. Derp. See how direct this is? How like every little intricate detail. It's like, wait, why didn't it respond? Oh, because I didn't do it. I didn't let it respond. Or it did respond, but I didn't print it. We are the masters of our own device or the destructors of it. Hey, AI, what's up? Hello, how can I assist you today? Let's chat about whatever you like. So there it is, the AI speaking directly back. It is speaking still with a formatted array. That's not pretty, but you know what? Whatever. It's all right. What is 2 to the power of 20? See if I can break it. Okay, not bad. A million. It's also trying to format things. Now, this is just kind of like extra levels of string formatting that we can do to clean up the text. The slash n is a new line. It's basically saying put it on a new line underneath, right? There's ways we can format this to look nicer, but that just takes an extra level of getting certain characters, formatting certain things. Formatting outputs is really what we're looking at. So right now, all we've done is communicate directly with our AI, and it took us 43 lines of code minus a couple of comments. So 43 lines of code to talk to our AI through code, and that opens up now the ability for us to automate tasks with AI. This is step one. This is step one. And we're going to continue this trend, this set of classes, these AI videos, if you will, forward as we expand its capabilities. We can let it search the internet with some nice tricks. It's going to be a bit of a ride, but we'll get there. We can let it literally look for duplicate files on our computer. I'm I don't know how much control I want to give my AI, to be honest. Maybe if I don't use DeepSeek, I feel like there might be a sleeper agent and something like a Chinese DeepSeek, where if it knows it has access to files or the internet, it's gonna phone home to Xi and do some stuff. So I want to make sure when I'm doing these things, I'm really formatting the back end and realizing things because I don't want to have everyone be able to do what I do, which is great, but also what's the liability of using a Chinese-made DeepSeek model with the potential to have a sleeper agent that's waiting to be connected to the internet so then it can go talk to China and give them everything it knows? I don't know. That's a potential. And knowing what's going on the internet with all these hacks, with all these AI prompt injections, and all of these chaotic processes, even vibe coding. Uh, vibe coding. We're technically vibe coding. In a way, we're vibe coding, but we're also being a little bit more detailed because we're parsing our information. Now, thanks for watching. Appreciate the attendance. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. Like and subscribe this video. Share it with your friends that want to basically go into programming. Again, remember that not even just programming. You want to get away from that AI hype, that AI chat GPT BS, that Grok, whatever. You want to make your own or just to communicate with it. This video went over the basics, the super simple of literally just setting up a basic AI, which looks like this. That's it. It looks like this. You can talk to it. It's an encyclopedia on your computer, and all it takes is a basic graphics card. I'd recommend something like an 8 gig virtual graphics GPU memory, but you can kind of squeeze it out. Anything less, it'll still work. Your question will just take much longer to process, right? So that's the real caveat here. The better graphics card, the faster your question's answered, the slower older graphics card, the slower your question is going to be processed and answered, which does mean you will get answers. You just might have to get a couple of cups of coffee at the end. So share this with friends. Share this to basically, be independent. Be an independent individual. Download Ollama. Just get started with having your own local AI agent without having to basically, pay money for something or give your data away. That's really the biggest piece is these AI companies are going to actually advertise very soon. They are not making money and they are going to make these AI rocks and chat GPTs know your personal life. And you know what they're going to do when they know that? They're going to start advertising to you. Oh, you feel depressed? How about some of this medicine here to help you feel happy? These are the type of things we want to really avoid. And maybe I'm too soon. I tend to be kind of early to this party. As many times over the past that I thought something's going to happen. I get ADHD, and then all of a sudden I forget about it. And then 6 months later, boom, happened as I thought it would. So maybe I'm just early to the party, but bookmark this video, share it, subscribe, like, and we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty sure we're all going to have to be able to do this on our own, have our own agents on our own computers, and basically have like a home network of AI agents so we can actually have a sense of privacy again. So, in the end, thanks. Appreciate you. If you stayed this long, you're awesome. I appreciate you so much. Say hi in chat. I want to see who's actually paying attention. Say something. I'm about to go. Say hello. Say hello before I go. How's it going, guys? How's it going, guys? Say something. Anyway. Some of y'all are just lurking, which is fine. Keep lurking. I'm seeing you. I see you. Anyway, see you next time. Like, subscribe again. We're going to continue this in more detailed fashion. We're going to go into actually giving our AI model internet access. I'm okay with that. Some case scenarios depends on the model. I don't know if I'll let my DeepSeek again have access to the internet. I don't know about that. DeepSeek always kind of give me a little bit of a sus feel over here. But we're gonna go into getting a AI agent access to the internet because right now this little built-in Ollama app does not have that. You're essentially just messaging the AI model, which is again kind of like an encyclopedia model. And it has a lot of information that's really useful, but if you're looking for up-to-date new information, we got to give it that internet access. And from there, that's for the next video.